As a gastroenterologist, I regularly meet patients who ask me one very important question. Doctor, is there anything I could have done to reduce my risk of cancer? It is a difficult question, especially when someone has already received a diagnosis. But for people who are still well, the answer matters enormously. Yes, there are practical steps you can take to reduce your cancer risk. But the answer is not hidden in one expensive supplement, one exotic fruit, or one so-called miracle food promoted on social media. No single food can prevent every cancer, and no food can cure cancer. What matters far more is the pattern of food you eat repeatedly over many years. In this video, I will show you 8 foods that deserve a regular place on your plate because research consistently links healthier dietary patterns with a lower risk of several cancers. Stay with me until the end because I will also explain which foods and habits can quietly increase your cancer risk, especially after 60. Let us begin with the food group supported by some of the strongest evidence for colon health: fiber-rich whole foods. Whole grains such as brown rice, whole wheat, oats, ragi, jowar, and other millets provide dietary fiber that your digestive system does not completely break down. Instead, some of this fiber reaches the large intestine, where beneficial gut bacteria ferment it. During this process, these bacteria produce compounds called short-chain fatty acids. One of the most important is butyrate. Butyrate helps support the cells lining the colon and plays an important role in maintaining a healthy intestinal environment. Research has consistently linked higher intake of dietary fiber and whole grains with a lower risk of colorectal cancer. That is why increasing fiber is one of the most practical dietary changes you can make. A useful daily target for many adults is roughly 25 to 35 grams of fiber, but do not increase it suddenly. If your present diet is low in fiber and you suddenly double your intake, you can develop bloating, gas, and abdominal discomfort. Increase fiber gradually. Add vegetables, whole grains, lentils, and fruit step by step. And as you increase fiber, make sure you are drinking enough fluids, but fiber is only the beginning. The second food group contains natural plant compounds that scientists have studied closely for their role in cancer biology. The second food group is cruciferous vegetables. This includes broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, and Brussels sprouts. These vegetables provide fiber, vitamins, and minerals, but they also contain natural compounds called glucosinolates. When you chop, chew, and digest these vegetables, glucosinolates are converted into other compounds, including sulforaphane. Scientists have studied sulforaphane because laboratory research shows that it can influence processes involved in cell protection and abnormal cell growth. I want to be very clear about this. Broccoli or cabbage is not a cancer treatment, and eating more cauliflower does not make you immune to cancer. Human studies are more complex than laboratory studies, but cruciferous vegetables remain an excellent part of a healthy, plant-rich dietary pattern, so I recommend including them regularly rather than treating them as a miracle medicine. If you have a sensitive gut or IBS, large portions of broccoli, cabbage, or cauliflower can sometimes cause gas and bloating. In that situation, do not remove them automatically. Try smaller portions and cook them well. The right quantity and preparation often make a significant difference. The third food group is legumes and lentils, and this is especially important in an Indian diet. Rajma, chickpeas, black beans, moong dal, masoor dal, and other pulses provide an excellent combination of fiber and plant protein. They also contain resistant starch and natural plant compounds called polyphenols. Why does this matter? First, fiber and resistant starch help support a healthier intestinal environment. Second, legumes make meals more filling, which can help you control portions and reduce dependence on refined carbohydrates and highly processed foods. Third, replacing part of a meal with lentils or beans can improve diet quality while providing protein without excessive saturated fat. This becomes even more important after 60, when maintaining a healthy body weight while preserving muscle should be a priority. Excess body fat, particularly around the abdomen, is linked with metabolic changes that can increase the risk of several cancers. A balanced meal built around vegetables, whole grains, and legumes can support better weight control without leaving you hungry soon after eating. The fourth food I want you to pay attention to is garlic. Along with onions and other members of the same plant family, garlic contains sulfur-containing compounds. One of the best known is allicin, which is formed when garlic is crushed or chopped. Research has examined whether higher garlic intake is associated with a lower risk of certain cancers, including digestive cancers. The evidence is not strong enough to say that garlic itself prevents cancer, but garlic and onions can be part of a healthy diet, especially when they help you add flavor without relying on excessive salt or heavily processed sauces. There is another mistake I want you to avoid. You do not need garlic capsules or expensive garlic supplements because someone online claims they can prevent cancer. Use garlic as food, use onions in normal cooking, build these foods naturally into your everyday meals. The next group shows why variety matters far more than searching for one so-called superfood. The fifth food group is fruit. And this is where I want you to stop searching for one so-called superfruit. There is no single fruit that can protect you from cancer. What matters is variety. Try to eat different colors across the week because different fruits provide different vitamins, polyphenols, fiber, and other natural plant compounds. For an Indian diet, this can include papaya, pomegranate, oranges, and other citrus fruits, guava, berries, and kala jamun when available. These foods provide vitamin C and a wide range of phytochemicals that support overall health. People who regularly eat a greater variety of fruits also tend to follow healthier dietary patterns, and that broader pattern is associated with a lower risk of several cancers. The important point is not to turn fruit into medicine. Eat it as part of a balanced diet. Choose whole fruit more often than fruit juice because whole fruit gives you fiber and is generally more filling. The sixth group is green leafy vegetables. Spinach, methi leaves, amaranth, drumstick leaves, and other leafy greens are rich in folate, carotenoids, vitamin K, magnesium, and fiber. They are also low in energy density, which means they can add volume and nutrition to your meal without adding large amounts of calories. This is useful for two reasons. First, a plant-rich diet supports better digestive health. Second, it can help you maintain a healthier body weight, which is one of the most important long-term strategies for reducing the risk of several cancers. A simple approach is to include at least one vegetable dish at lunch and dinner, and whenever possible, make leafy vegetables part of that rotation. If you're finding this explanation useful, subscribe to the channel. My goal is to help you understand what genuinely supports your health without fear, confusion, or miracle claims. Now let us come to the seventh group, nuts and seeds. Almonds, walnuts, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, and similar foods provide healthy, unsaturated fats, fiber, plant protein, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidant compounds. Walnuts and flax seeds are also useful plant sources of ALA, a type of omega-3 fatty acid. You do not need a large quantity. A small handful of unsalted nuts on most days is a sensible portion for most people. With seeds, a modest portion can be added to curd, oats, or other meals. But portion control matters. Nuts are nutritious, but they are also calorie dense. If you keep eating them simply because they are healthy, the calories can add up quickly and work against your weight goals. And you do not need to soak almonds or walnuts overnight to unlock their nutrients. If you prefer soaked nuts because they are softer and easier to chew, that is perfectly fine. But soaking is a preference, not a requirement. The bigger priority is choosing plain, unsalted varieties and keeping the portions sensible. The final food is one many people overlook, and it takes us directly into one of the fastest growing areas of medical research, the gut microbiome. The eighth food is plain curd or yogurt, and this brings us to one of the most interesting areas of modern digestive research, the gut microbiome. Your digestive tract contains trillions of microorganisms. Together, they form what we call the gut microbiome. These microorganisms interact with digestion, the immune system, inflammation, and many other processes that influence overall health. Plain curd and yogurt containing live cultures can be useful additions to a balanced diet. They provide protein and calcium, and some varieties also contain live bacterial cultures. Researchers are continuing to study how the gut microbiome may influence colorectal cancer and other diseases. But I want to make one point very clear. We cannot say that eating curd prevents cancer. The science connecting specific fermented foods, the gut microbiome, and cancer prevention is still developing. Think of plain curd as one useful part of a healthy dietary pattern, not as a cancer treatment. And do not assume that every fermented food provides the same benefit. Idli and dosa are prepared through fermentation, but they are cooked before eating. Traditional pickles are also fermented or preserved in some cases, but many contain large amounts of salt. A high intake of heavily salted or salt-preserved foods is associated with a higher risk of stomach cancer. So if you eat curd, choose plain, unsweetened varieties when possible, especially instead of sugary desserts or heavily sweetened flavored yogurt. Now that we have covered all 8 foods, we need to look at the other side of the plate. Adding healthy foods is not enough if foods linked with higher cancer risk remain a regular part of your diet. The first group to limit strongly is processed meat. This includes sausages, salami, bacon, and other processed meat products. The evidence linking processed meat with colorectal cancer is strong, so these should not become regular everyday foods. Red meat is different from processed meat, but regular high intake should also be limited. You do not need to remove every non-vegetarian food from your diet. The better approach is to keep portions sensible and allow dal, rajma, chickpeas, and other legumes to replace some meat-based meals during the week. Alcohol is another major factor. When we are talking specifically about cancer prevention, less alcohol is better, and avoiding alcohol gives the lowest cancer risk. Then there are sugar-sweetened beverages and many ultra-processed packaged foods. Sugar does not directly feed cancer in the simplistic way you often hear online. The bigger concern is that these foods can make it very easy to consume excess calories, gain weight, and develop obesity. And excess body fat is linked with a higher risk of several cancers. If you are serious about building healthier habits, comment cancer prevention below. Cancer prevention is not about fearing every meal. It is about shifting the balance towards whole grains, vegetables, fruits, legumes, nuts, seeds, and minimally processed foods while reducing the foods that repeatedly push your health in the wrong direction. And before we finish, there is one lifestyle factor that deserves even more attention than any single food. That lifestyle factor is smoking. If you smoke, stopping is one of the most important cancer prevention decisions you can make. Tobacco increases the risk of many cancers, including cancers of the mouth, throat, esophagus, stomach, pancreas, liver, colon, rectum, and lungs. Improving your diet is valuable, but healthy food cannot cancel the damage caused by smoking. The same principle applies to the rest of your lifestyle. Cancer prevention is not built around one perfect meal. It comes from the choices you repeat consistently over months and years. So if you remember only a few points from this video, remember these. First, increase fiber gradually through whole grains, vegetables, fruits, lentils, and legumes. Foods such as oats, brown rice, whole wheat, ragi, jowar, rajma, chickpeas, and dal can help you build a healthier eating pattern. Second, fill a large part of your plate with different vegetables. Include leafy greens and cruciferous vegetables regularly, but choose portions and cooking methods that suit your digestion. Third, stop searching for miracle foods. Garlic is healthy, but it is not a cancer medicine. Fruit is healthy, but there is no single superfruit. Nuts and seeds are nutritious, but more is not always better. Fourth, reduce foods clearly linked with poorer long-term health. Keep processed meat to a minimum. Limit high intake of red meat, cut back on sugar-sweetened drinks and ultra-processed foods, and for cancer prevention, avoiding alcohol is the best choice. And finally, pay attention to your body weight, physical activity, and smoking status. These factors also play an important role in your overall cancer risk. As a gastroenterologist, I want you to understand one more thing. Prevention is powerful, but early detection is also extremely important. Do not ignore persistent changes such as unexplained weight loss, blood in the stool, difficulty swallowing, ongoing abdominal pain, a major change in bowel habits, or loss of appetite. These symptoms do not automatically mean cancer, but they deserve proper medical attention. You do not need an extreme diet, you need a pattern you can follow consistently. Eat more whole foods, maintain a healthy weight, stay physically active, do not smoke. For cancer prevention, avoid alcohol whenever possible. If this video helped you understand cancer prevention more clearly, give this video a like and share it with a family member or friend who may benefit from this information.